So you smoke on the daily, and you'd like advice about how to take a tolerance break without having cravings. I will offer some of the advice that helps me when I go on my very occasional tolerance breaks, and I would be curious to see what other advice other people have, especially because this is a mix of physical and mental. I'm Lex Pelger. I do Canna education for CV Sciences, the makers of Plus CBD, who has excellent CBD and THC products. On the cannabinoids, ask me anything. On the physical side, people do tend to have a physical dependence on cannabis. It also tends not to be very large, but for some people it's huge and it's really debilitating. But for tolerance breaks, your body can tend to notice it. And so what helps me is a bunch of CBD. This is our pro line, so there's a lot in it. But there's also THC in it. Not a lot, but you'd be microdosing THC. And that's a really nice way to keep it in your body. I know when they're treating cannabis use disorder, people are often given dronabinol, which is synthetic THC. But it helps because instead of a more addictive way that you might be taking it, in kind of a fiendish way, if you will, I know I can feel that way, you are instead taking one pill and letting that be balanced across the day. But I think much, much more intense is the mental side. Most people are using cannabis for their mental health or to find a way to relax or be creative. For me, it is just a way to end the day. And it is not pleasant when I can't end the day that way because it's too late and it would keep me up. And so I need to substitute in other habits for my mental health. And so I can make a ritual about doing the things I would otherwise be doing, where I kind of feel like cannabis frees me that I can finally do it, like to come into my room and screw around in my books and play on my memory wall. I just decide that I'm going to do that instead. Maybe I have a small piece of chocolate and I come and do the same things I would have been doing anyway. The other thing is taking care of my body. Going for a run instead helps me a lot because, you know, the runner's high, they're starting to think more and more is from endocannabinoids. So if you want a cheap way to get high, not only is the runner's high probably from cannabinoids, if you have a bunch of cannabinoids in your fat, like people who use a lot tend to, as you burn your fats, you're releasing some of them. So basically all of my answers are involving microdosing cannabinoids to make it easier, but I think that also makes sense. The last thing I'll say is a bit of a therapist take on it, but hell, my wife's a therapist, so I learn a little bit by osmosis. But when you get that strong craving at the end of the day, when I do, I try to look at why. What do I want out of it? What do I want so badly that this is going to give me? Is it relaxation? Is it freedom? And try to figure out what is the part of you that needs some help there. And that's a very personal thing, but, you know, you can talk to your own parts. This is a self-therapy book I talk about on my personal thread that's quite good. Talking to your own parts and figuring out what do they need and what can be substituted instead that's going to give them that same sort of comfort. So there's some ideas. It's not easy. I don't love it and I don't do it very often, but it is probably a good thing to do and to see what life is like without it for a week or two or a month. So best of luck and let me know if anyone in the comments has other things because I would certainly like some advice myself.